What's up, world? Welcome to a new episode of the BrandonJaneauShow, Underdog to Success. Tonight, I am joined by another amazing artist that has done so many things. I read today, and I was like, "Damn, that's who I'm interviewing." I was like, "What the fuck?"
Wow.
I was like, "Ain't that special?" I was like, "That man done that." Oh, okay, all right now. I was like,
Wow.
tell them where they can find all your amazing music, where they can find your social media platforms, if you have any, man. Tell them where they can find everything that you are doing, man.
Well, for the most part, they can find me, of course, on Instagram at Planet 12 Law, Twitter at Planet 12 Law, YouTube Law Planet 12, and Facebook.com Law Planet 12. And of course, all of my music is available on all digital outlets: Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, you name it. It's there. All you gotta do is type in Law asterisk A asterisk W or anything Planet 12, and it'll come up.
Like I said, man, I was reading. I don't like to write stuff down for interviews because it's just like it clouds up my mind, and then I have to look at the paper and be like, oh, this is really what you. It messes it up for me. So I like doing interviews where I can just read certain things and take the context and be like, yeah, that's something. And I can relate to anything an artist would do because I think this podcast is my art. I think that this is
Mhm.
where I find my platform, I find my stripes in the world, and
Absolutely.
and and I think that reading all of the amazing accomplishments you've had, man, and just the things you've done, I was like, damn, this interview is gonna be fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
One thing I read, man, about you, man, is what you just said. You have a podcast, but you do it on Instagram Live. What got you into a podcast on Instagram Live? Because that's an interesting thing to do, a live podcast. I mean, you're a musician, you're an artist, so you're
Absolutely.
used to being in front of live people on big stages and stuff. But it's
Of
kind of
course.
like you're doing an Instagram. That's a little different because you don't know the viewership, you don't know really where people are gonna really watch it, you don't know what's going on.
Hmm.
So talk about Planet 12 podcast because that is an incredible thing to do. I know because I'm doing a podcast clearly,
Of course.
but
Absolutely.
but doing an Instagram podcast, a live podcast, how is that for you?
Well, first and foremost, it started because, like everybody else that's an artist, all of our shows were canceled because of this thing called the coronavirus. So basically, I was still getting my money. My publishing money comes in, so I'm straight with finances. We got all the toilet paper and alcohol you can possibly want. Food is stored up. So here I am in my home, with the exception of my pre-production studio, writing songs and producing and working on my music. The fans have been asking me for years because they always be like, "Yo, Lord, you need your own radio show because you be dropping so many facts and stories about your time in the industry, and it's very intriguing." And I've always said to them, like with anything I do, I said, God's timing is everything. Because if
Mm.
I would have tried to start a podcast like everybody else, like 10 years ago, and did it the same format, it would have worked. But you need some kind of time to dedicate to build up the reputation of that podcast. Like all things in the industry, or just multimedia, it takes work. It takes a lot of work to build. Now, keep in mind, thank God for my fan base, because it was easy for me to call up some of my industry friends who I've been close to for so long, and my heroes, where we get a chance to have a real conversation about me giving them their flowers, and kind of showing my fans what did I get from these guys growing up? Because they hear about all the time, but you got to remember, I'll post it, and some people read the post, and some people are like, okay, Law's being long-winded. So I'm like, well, here's the short end of that stick. I say, so now, what better way to get traction? It's one thing to just have a podcast and be there. And like I said, whatever, I always say, whatever works for somebody, it works. If it works for you, do it. If something else is different, I think that all of us podcasters in that frame of mind, we're supposed to be different. I don't think every one podcast should be the same or go about the same way. It's the reason why podcasts have been successful in this last 10 to 15 something years, because you have all different walks of life, different ways they approach it, different types of subjects and things like that. And I'm different because I'm like, okay, Instagram Live is faster because with Facebook and Zoom, and I appreciate Zoom, but the thing was that with Zoom, it's testy for most artists who are not computer savvy. So the connecting link of having that happening as opposed to me going live like I usually did and just bringing in my peeps. Hey, you requested me live, bring them in and let the whole world see us have a real conversation. So I knew it would be somewhat successful, but I had no idea that it would become a monster by itself. And you have high hopes and you're great for it, but I think a lot of that success has to do with not only the fan support, of course, by all means, but also because the friends who I've had in this industry for a long time didn't mind getting on here with me to talk how we normally talk. I've had Vanessa Williams on my show. I've had Chucky Booker, Big Daddy Kane, CeCe Peniston, Kenny Lattimore. I mean, you name it. MC Shan, Lisa. I think it's Lisa already. I can't even. It's so many, man. I've had a lot of people on my show. Kwame. Oh yeah, I've had the heavyweights, man. Because if you're going to talk some shit, then it might as well be in the regards of talking with the icons and the legends that have done it. And these just happen to be my heroes, and I've been close to these guys for so long.
Man, when you said Kenny Lattimore, MC Shan, Vanessa Williams, I was like, that's my childhood. That's
Yeah,
like
exactly. That's the whole.
like,
Vanessa Williams is the most requested one. That's the one people love the most because they were telling me, because I'm so caught up in the moment that she's actually looking at me. So you got to remember, I'm blushing like a kid, like how I was back then. And everybody was like, Lord, you don't realize you got her blushing. Because here's the thing about the Plant Soul podcast. What makes me different, this is just me speaking for me. I'm different from most musical podcasts because we don't just talk about that. We just had Shanice on there recently. Shanice enjoyed me and her talking because she knew that I wasn't going to just talk about I Love Your Smile. She has a whole history that came before that one record. A lot of people don't know. So like true fans like myself that studied the records when she was 13, when she was already making music at 13 years old. We go back that far. Same thing with Vanessa Williams. People forget. I mean, of course, first Black Miss America. We're going to talk about that, but we don't talk about Vanessa Williams' singing catalog enough. This woman has put out 8 to 9 albums that are all classics, especially her Christmas stuff. Every year, her Christmas album goes into the top 15, the top 20 every year. And these Christmas albums are almost like 20 years old. We don't talk about Vanessa Williams, a singer. I mean, yeah, we're going to talk about some of the movies, and she said to this day, she's like, that was in my top 3 of the best interviews I've ever done because you obviously are a true fan. I'm like, you really know my history. I'm like, and I'm like you. I didn't have no paper in front of me. I didn't have to do research. When you're a real fan and you've done your homework and you study, so you got to remember, I'm an artist first.
100.
That's our pedigree. You can't be the artist that you claim to be. And I don't care what genre it is. You can't be an artist if you don't study. I don't give a damn how nice your rhymes are or how many vocal runs you do. If you don't study the heroes and the folks that have done this, it doesn't make any sense. I had Jane Wheatland from the Go-Go's. I'm a huge Go-Go's fan. So I had her on the show. See what I mean? And me and Jane been close for years. So she agreed to do it. And this is right before they got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow.
So in a nutshell, this is what the Plant Soul podcast has become. It's become a monster of its own proportion. And we don't just bring in heroes. So I've had a lot of independent artists who I thought were great come on my show. You know what I mean? Things of that nature. I've had people that come in that I thought were dope that should be highlighted, that had great music that should be. I had Marcus Machado, one of the baddest guitar players on the face of this earth. He just did a sold out show at the Blue Note. This is what we about. So we don't just promote my musical heroes and who I love, but we also promote new artists that I love that are making waves.
I love that. I love that. I call this show Underdog to Success because that's exactly what it is. I want to give people that might not get the platform that I have somewhat created for myself, the chance to come on here and talk about a business, a podcast, whatever the fuck they like to talk about, whatever is fueling that energy that's making you feel like, yo, I'm gonna be successful in that. I don't give a fuck how you feel.
Absolutely, that part.
I'm gonna be successful in that, and that's what I created this particular series for my podcast for because I want people to come on here and feel like oh, he isn't coming on here just giving me some bullshit. He's just trying to like
General
poke at me.
general ass questions.
Yeah, like he
Hmm.
actually, he seems like he actually cares. He actually wants to
Hmm.
hear about what my heroes were, what's my plan, what's my succession plan,
Absolutely.
what's the afterlife of the succession plan, like what is
Hmm.
that? Like because I'm dealing with that shit. like I'm trying to get ideas, man.
I hear you. I hear you.
I ain't just ask you questions. I'm trying to get ideas too. Like that do sound nice when I finish this shit.
Mhm.
Like,
Hey, listen, man. Each one teach one, man. You can't grow
hey,
without somebody influence. Nobody gets to where they get to too much by themselves. I mean, the majority of my career, I've done it by myself, but I've been fortunate enough that most of my heroes became my allies in the music industry, and that doesn't happen every day. So this is why it's
yes.
so important. And that word friend and mentor gets tossed around quite too often without any real evidence of backing. So I'm one of the few people that can actually say, when I mention names of people who you may know and people whose music you grew up on, and I say that these are my friends, I can tell you stories and share certain things that happened when I was on the road with them or when I hung out with them one night, or they promoted something that I did when they didn't have to. It combines all of that in the whole conglomerate of things.
Yeah, man. I do another series on my for my podcast. I call it Music That Has Impacted My Life. And
Mm-hmm.
like last night, I did the top 10 greatest songs ever list. So
Oh.
I had a bunch of my podcast friends come on, and
Mm-hmm.
I just threw out names, and I was like, so what song from this artist that you like? And then they were like, this is stressful. Like this is the most
Of
stressful
course,
shit.
because you can't. I mean, it's like it's hard to pick those type of things, man.
It really
Lists
is.
are very subjective. So
It really is, and that's my thing. I love to challenge the mind because music is subjective.
absolutely.
It's so subjective. It's like I grew up on this, but I also grew up on this too. If you actually let me
Story of my
explain,
life.
you know what I'm saying? Like I love music. That's what I love.
Hmm.
So when you ask me what's your favorite this? Well, I can tell you my favorite rock band is Coldplay. My favorite, rapper is Jay-Z. My favorite
Hmm.
pop artist it was Michael Jackson. He's the king. Why would you not love Michael Jackson?
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
you could always find those R&B. R&B subjective. I loved every single R&B artist from Lauryn
Hmm.
Hill to Mary J. Blige. It's so many things. You know what I'm saying? I could tell you
Hmm.
Aretha Franklin. You know what I'm saying? Like I love it all. Like I grew up with everything. Patti LaBelle. I
Hmm.
can sing you Patti LaBelle. Like it's those are the things about music that I love to do with my show in particular because those types of lists, like I did last night, people was like, "Yo, that was the most stressful but most fun I've ever had doing a podcast," and that's what I love.
I would bet.
I
I would hope so.
I
That's a
love
lot of
that.
conversation to be had after something like that. So
I love that. And then I like make them have to like vote on who stays on the list and not. Like it's the
mhm.
fun. It's the most fun I've ever
That
had.
sounds like fun. It sounds like a lot of fun.
It sounds so much fun. But you've actually got a chance to be around all these music legends, icons,
Hmm.
um, people that I see on TV. You actually got a chance to be
Hmm.
around.
Yeah.
And I was reading about you, and I was reading particularly the instruments. You came from George Clinton, P Funk. I was like,
Yes.
oh shit, I got P Funk. I got Parliament Funkadelic in this motherfucker. I was
You
like,
better
oh, I got
believe
P.
it.
I
P
was
for
like,
life.
oh
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
What was that like to be in that camp, that particular feeling, like just to be around that particular? Because he is still, you still feel the George Clinton effect of music,
It is
still to
still.
this day.
I was going to say to you, it's. I've been in the P Funk camp for about 20 years now. It's still surreal to me on so many different levels because of the fact that it started with a dream. I told my mother at 12 years old when I started. My legendary uncle Tony T Funk Austin, who played with James Brown and Kool and the Gang. I grew up around it. So the thing is that when I discovered Parliament Funkadelic and the crazy quirkiness of how diversified and how I always say the funk analogy, James Brown created the funk, Sly Stone diversified the funk, but it was George Clinton that made funk religious. It really became a genre when George and the rest of the P Funk bandmates kind of put their stamp on it and made it into a movement Funk became a movement because if you look at after Parliament Funkadelic, all the other bands came after that. Commodores, Ozzy. No, Ozzy Brothers was out way before those guys. But here's the funny thing. The Ozzy Brothers had to follow suit to keep up with the times. Which is the reason why the Ozzy Brothers are still successful now. Because the key to their success in every decade, whether it was Mr. Biggs with R. Kelly, or whether it was when they became like a funk rock trio in the 60s and 70s, Dave always knew how to keep up with the times without sacrificing what their sound was. But Parliament Funkadelic was the movement that got everybody like, we need to start wearing our hair kind of crazy now. We need to start doing the quirky shit that George is doing. Let's go to outer space. Make my funk like it became so. So for me, it's still surreal on every level of the fact that I've been a 20-year camp member of, in my humble opinion, the greatest musical dynasty there ever could be, because no one has influenced the game. I would only put the Beatles and a few other groups that really became game changers. But if they had a top 5, Parliament Funkadelic has to be in it. They're the black version of the Grateful Dead. So the crazy part of that whole situation is really intuitive to how things are done in the industry. So if you think about everything that's progressing now, George had already did that shit before it was popular. Rapping and mixing funk, rock, heavy metal. Funkadelic is the first black heavy metal rock band. Before Prince, before Lenny Kravitz, before Fishbone, before Living Color, Funkadelic was already the forward movement of what we call avant-garde. Because you gotta remember, Funkadelic had the greatest dilemma. They were too psychedelic for the black audiences, but yet too hardcore black for the white audiences. And that's how both of their audience came together. If you've ever been to a P-Funk show, you'll see a mixture of pretty much everybody. Kids, young people that got hooked on Parliament Funkadelic when hip hop started sampling, and especially and a lot of that credit goes to Dr. Dre.
I was just about to say.
Understand and learn. No, it's deeper, because that's my favorite rap group. But here's where it gets deeper, because George Clinton created such a universe within a genre that was already expanding. If you think about songs like Flashlight, One Nation Under a Groove, Atomic Dog years later, these songs 40-something years later, even 50-something years later, they still have an impact. And I'm going back to what I said earlier. I've been in the P-Funk camp for 20 years. Imagine all the tours I've been on where I'm literally, if I'm not on stage performing, sometimes I don't even get on stage to perform with them. I'll just stand backstage and just watch the people react off of this 80-year-old man that is still vibrant, kicking ass, still got some rhymes for your head, and still knows how to give you a conversation that's so much food for thought. He spans generations, and he's such in the know, because everybody he's not your typical 80 years old. George Clinton can recite the whole rhyme to Follow the Leader by Rakim. Literally, word for word. I remember he opened up the show. I'm gonna give you an example of his philosophy. Ladies and gentlemen, George Clinton comes out to the window, to the walls. I'm like, what? He's doing Yang Yang Twins. And here's the funny shit. We was backstage at the show. I said, you like the Yang Yang Twins? I called him Dad. You like the Yang Yang Twins? He said, of course, man. He said, you gotta remember, that sound like something, Get Low sound like something we would have did back in 75. And watch this. It made me think. He's right, because what's one of Funkadelic's greatest records? Shit. Goddamn. Get Off Your Ass and Jam. That sounds like something the Yin Yang Twins would do. So it bridges the gap. James Brown and George Clinton had the most influence on hip hop musically, period. The samples changed the game, The samples changed the game. Man. So long story short, he is forever influential. I'm proud to call him my musical father. He's the one that believed in me when nobody else did. Gave me my first major industry check as a producer and songwriter, especially at the time when I was so ferociously independent. And he sought my talent and was able to push me forward. Because I'm not going to lie to you, having that one name under my banner before I work for everybody else that's on my resume, it's a badge of honor when you walk into a club and people, oh, yo, we got Law in the house, we got P-Funk in the house. Like they it's the best feeling in the world, because most of my fans either know me from my work with, with the late Amy Winehouse, my little sis, or George Clinton, Palmer, and Funkadelic. So that's old school and new school mixed together. So that allowed me to move in circles that a lot of guys of my caliber couldn't move in. Because God forbid if I retired and never did music again, I have that to stand on. Dig what I'm saying? Everybody can't stand on that. And not to mention, it's not just because of those people or who they are, but also because I was smart enough not to just take that advantage and just use the name of the people that I work with. My merit speaks for itself. I created Planet 12. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for George Clinton, there would be no Planet 12, because if you look at the cover of my first album, it looks like the Mothership Connection album. That was done on purpose, because I wanted to pay homage to the man that pretty much put it in my idea. George took them out of space first. I want to continue tradition, because the only other group that was doing that besides me was Digital Underground. Shock G, rest in peace. And, and at the time I was pissed at Shock G, because when they came out with the whole Vibe First, I'm like, damn, they beat us too. I said, but you know what though? That just gives me more of an opportunity to do something different with what I have. I'm a pretty creative motherfucker. So for me, it was like, let me figure it out. And once I figured it out, it brought me to the greatest dilemma, because on one side or to my left, my peers that were my age, yo, Lord, you nice on the mic, man. I ain't with all that singing stuff, but your rhymes are dope. Like you just been. And then on the right side, my mother's friends and family members who knew me from singing in church as a kid, who knew me from singing winning talent shows, singing New Edition songs and stuff like that. It's like, my aunt be like, baby, I love the way, you can sing. I'm not with all that rap stuff now. I can't really understand. I know most older parents didn't like rap. My mother loved rap, but a lot of my aunts couldn't get with that shit. And they're pulling me in this direction. So after a while, it's like a seesaw. So what do I do? And then one day I just stopped and said, you know what? Excuse my language. Fuck this shit. I'm going to do all of it. George Clinton did all of it. Prince did all of it. Stevie Wonder did all of it. Even though you can think about it, if you think real hard, if you think about all the hits that George Clinton, Stevie Wonder, and Prince, you could throw Michael in there too, but I'm gonna be honest. Prince and Stevie were more diverse than Michael was. I'm being real about it. They were more diverse. So think about this for 1 second. No, respectfully speaking.
No, I agree. I agree.
Well, you gotta remember, no, Michael's my first hero. I'm a diehard Jackson fan. Jermaine's the reason why I play bass.
But like okay, that's a perfect thing, because I look at like how this new generation is. And I look at it like how this new generation is, because if you ask me, who is like the guys that I listen to right now, like I'm listening to The Weeknd's new album, Don FM. And that makes me feel like Mike. That makes me feel like Mike. But the thing about when I listen to like a Silk Sonic or Bruno Mars, I'm like, Bruno is Prince. Weeknd's
Well,
Mike.
I mean, no. Here's a double whammy for you in a good way. You gotta remember, that's why me and Bruno I've done shows with Bruno. This is why me and Bruno have a lot in common, because both of Bruno's first two heroes are my first two heroes. You gotta remember, I was a Michael Jackson fan first, because like any other young, I think I got a few years on you. Any young Black kid in America at that particular time, once Off the Wall, and especially when Thriller came out. Not to mention, Jermaine Jackson's the reason why I play bass. I love all 6 Jackson brothers, but when Michael became the breakout and his shit kind of just really took on a whole nother zenith that went beyond his career with his brothers, Michael's my first hero. But then you gotta remember, I began getting into instruments. So of course, Tito being the guitar player that he is, but then I discovered Prince and Jimi Hendrix. So think about that for 1 second. If you look at Bruno's pedigree, Bruno has the Michael factor, but of course, like myself, he played instruments. So there's the whole aspect of the Minneapolis sound intertwined in there. I mean, why do you think Uptown Funk made a statement? Because people were like, Now, I'm gonna tell you how real it is. Morris Day did a show once. You know, that's one of my best friends. Me and Morris are very close, like my big brother for life.
A legend.
And yeah, absolutely. I've opened up for him at least 5 times. We've hung out. I mean, I got stories I can tell about me and Morris just hanging out. And I remember during the break on one of the tours, you know how he talk. He's like, yeah, you know, they got these cats out here talking about, I gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty. Wonder where he got that from. It ain't hard to tell. And you know why? You know why it ain't hard to tell? Because me and my brother Peppy used to win talent shows imitating Morris and Jerome. So, and now mind you, I got about a good, I got like a good 7-8 years on Bruno. So we ain't that far apart in age. We in the same age group. So think about that for 1 second. Somewhere in Hawaii, let me from Hawaii. Somewhere in Hawaii, he was studying the same way I was studying. You dig what I'm saying? So whenever Bruno does anything, and Anderson .Paak as well, all of those guys, we're cut from the same cloth. That's why when people heard my stuff, and it's like, you don't ever get mad at comparisons. I said, why would I get mad at comparisons? We're all cut from the same cloth. I could tell when I first heard Leave the Door Open, I said, Blue Magic, Stylistics. It has that whole vibe, the Spinners. Then when you hear something like Put Some Perm in Your Attitude, that's straight James Brown.
Yeah.
Then you hear 24 Karat Magic, that's a combination of Roger Troutman, Zapp, and old school hip hop. Bruno could have easily did the new, as a matter of fact, in the song he did the whole trap thing in the breakdown with the What's That Sound part. But the way he's rapping, that's nothing but Cold Crush and Furious 5. Pop, pop, it's showtime, 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 showtime. Guess who's back? It's
again.
old
Say,
school.
what?
It's not new.
Yeah.
It's old school. But because Bruno is the hottest pop, that's why I love Bruno. Because he's the hottest pop artist. That's why I love him. He's using his platform to bring light to the real shit that we love, whether it's funk, R&B, pop, rock, or hip hop. So you got, to me, anybody hating on Bruno is stupid. That's how I look at it. I love it.
You're the perfect person to have this conversation with, because I was thinking this in my head when I was listening to the Weeknd new album, and I was thinking in my head, I'm like, yo, is it like for artists? To me, the artists I gravitate more towards is artists, and I'm starting to see this with Bruno and the Weeknd, because not only do they put this into their music, they're embodying what this project is. They're embodying what this project is. Like, I looked at the Weeknd with the After Hours, and I'm like, he literally for the entire album was what the fuck you heard After Hours as. The entire album. I didn't get a chance to go see the show.
I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not the biggest Weeknd fan, but the thing for me is that I absolutely love and respect the theme and the ambiance and the mystique that he's created for his brand. See, I'm not a hater. That's one thing about me. Even if I'm not a fan of the music, I know a conceptualist when I see one. And if you can follow a certain theme that's consistent, that's how you gain your fan base.
Which brings me to like Bruno Mars, because I'm like, Bruno Mars started this trend really what you just said, Uptown Funk. Everything since Uptown Funk has been 24 Karat Magic, Silk Sonic. It's
because because the thing is just that he wasn't, the thing about Bruno, again, if you know anything about the history of his shit, I mean, we were able to have a great conversation. We did a show out in Hong Kong. It was me, Black Eyed Peas, and him. We did it was a corporate gig. It was huge, the whole thing. We just recently did some work with him in Cape Cod. It made the TMZ news, which was crazy. I'm just like, damn, they'd be all over the place. But I thanked him. I said, Bruno, keep doing what you're doing, baby, bro. I love everything. He was so humble and cool, and his band was amazing. You know, we all think the same way.
Again,
some stuff too. So the great thing about this is that it's because, again, he thanked me because I knew it. I know what you're doing. Treasure ain't nothing but disco. You see what I'm saying? Like, I know. Look at the video. He had the red jumpsuit on with the overalls. I'm like, this is disco. It's disco music. The whole theme is Bruno knows music. And if you look at who his family is and who his remember, his best friend is Jackie Wilson's son. A lot of people don't know that. See, but
Legendary.
and my grandfather used to tour with Jackie and those guys. So this is why I'm saying, like, when you understand the history of R&B, soul, and then later on funk, because I always call funk is the aggressive bastard subgenre child of R&B music. Because when rock started to get consumed by a lot of the white rock acts, no disrespect to them, I love Led Zeppelin, I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan, you know, the whole bit. But white rock bands dominate the genre. Even though we created it, us black, we created rock. But in the early 70s, as it went along, the white rock groups began to dominate. So funk became the aggressive bastard child of R&B, because since they wanted to keep categorizing and putting us in one box, then you got groups like the Ozzy Brothers, where you got the whole heavy part of the funk, the sexy ballads, but then you got Ernie Ozzy ripping Hendrix guitar solos, showing you, yeah, we created this shit, we rock too. Then you got Parliament Funkadelic, I mean, 2 words, maggot brain, one of the deadliest rock and roll guitar solos ever created. So even though George was giving the funk to the mainstream, like, you know, we want the funk flashlight, but yet he's doing hardcore heavy metal records like Alice in My Fantasies, which to me, I just said this earlier on Facebook, I will put Alice in My Fantasies up against any fucking thing that Led Zeppelin ever did. And I love Led Zeppelin, but honestly, if they had to go neck to neck with Eddie Hazel and Tall Ross and Bernie Worrell and Tiki Fullwood, they would blow Led Zeppelin out the fucking water, period. Now, nobody wants to admit that or go there. There's probably a whole big debate if I say it, but you know me, I don't give a shit. Like, for me, it's almost like, and I'm not even being biased. I'm just being honest about it, because you got to remember, Funkadelic, they tried to put Funkadelic in the box for a reason, because they were a black heavy metal band. So think about that for 1 second. They didn't get the promotions. That's why this is where people like Prince came in at, and even Rick James, because Prince and Rick James knew how to make rock applicable with the funk, R&B, and the slight disco shit that they were doing. They never did disco music, but when Prince wrote "I Want to Be Your Lover," he said, "I wrote that song on purpose because I needed a hit." See that? It wasn't because he was trying to be creative. He said, "My first album For You was a great album, but it didn't really sell anything." And Warner Brothers was like, "Listen, we love your creativity, we love your artistry, but we need a hit." And Prince was just like, "Okay, simple. I want to be your lover. I want to." It's a basic ass disco funk R&B record. But Prince was smart. He gave them what they wanted, and then that's what happened. Once he gave them what they wanted, what did he do? Dirty Mind, nothing but drawers and a trench coat. He said, "I'm gonna get on some real punk rock new wave shit now. I'm gonna come out here with nothing but some drawers and a long trench coat. My bass player's gonna wear some see-through pants," which was questionable at that time. You know, nobody really, he was gender bending at that time when nobody really knew what it was. But Prince was smart. He was collected. He said, "What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give you the funk. I'm gonna give you the funk and the R&B and the Minneapolis heavy R&B sound. But we're gonna throw some new wave in there. We're gonna throw some rock, and I'm gonna do a blistering guitar solo any fucking time I feel like it." And this is why Prince became the household name that we know him today, because he told his record label at 17 years old, "Do not market me as an R&B artist." Prince was already on some, we trying to blend shit here. I don't want to be, because he knew it was a kiss of death. He said, if I would have been, he said, they wanted me to dress like Earth, Wind, and Fire. He said, if I would have dressed enough, no, we love Earth, Wind, and Fire. He said, no, those are my heroes. But I'm Prince Rogers Nelson. I'm from Minneapolis. I'm a little bit different. I'm weird. I'm 5'3". I wear high heel boots. I do my hair different. I have a big ass hoop earring in my ear that nobody's doing right now. I'm a standout. Get used to it. Either accept me for what I am, or we're gonna keep going. So if you look at people like Bruno and everything, like I said, thank God for Prince, and then later on, Living Color, Fishbone, Lenny Kravitz, because in the 80s and 90s, it finally became clear. It was our way of reminding the industry, we started this shit. Rock and roll is black music. We created Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Fats Domino, my grandfather's friend, B.B. King. These are all his buddies. B.B. King.
Legendary.
Yeah. B.B. King used to be at my house. B.B. King used to be at my house hanging out, Albert Collins. Like, I grew up around it. So my foundation is gospel and blues, if nothing else. Everything else came later. So that's why I'm able to talk about it. The Rolling Stones would not, and that's why Mick Jagger, his non-dancing ass to this day. will tell you, there would be no Rolling Stones if it wasn't for us loving Muddy Waters. Because remember, he had a song called I'm a Rolling Stone. They took that name and said, look, we love the blues, man. We just all we want to play was blues. We only want to play blues. We love the blues. Where's Howlin' Wolf? Where's Howlin' Wolf? They came to Chicago. You saw the movie Cadillac Records. That was true. They came to Chicago just so they could meet Howlin' Wolf. They had the #1 record in the country, the #1 record. But yet, these 5 white kids from London wanted to study under the Black masters. And Mick kept his word, because when Muddy Waters died, Mick paid for the whole funeral. That's why that's another reason why I'm a Rolling Stones fan. I love their music, but what Mick did was honorable, because most white artists would just take, and that's cultural appropriation. When people just take and don't give credit.
And don't give you nothing back.
Don't give credit. No, because mind you, look. My grandfather used to always say, we all get something from somebody. Everybody gets something from somebody.
Yes.
But once it becomes our own, it's our responsibility as artists to make sure that no matter how high we get, you better make sure. When people ask me, yo, Lord, you do that thing with your leg and it goes to your knee all the time. Where you get that from? I said, that's a Marlon Jackson movie. He said, Marlon? I said, Marlon is outside of Michael, Marlon's the best dancer in Jackson 5. I said, if you don't know the history, I'm about to school you. So it made me feel good to tell people. And then people was like, yo, I heard what you said about Marlon Jackson. I went back to some of the clips on YouTube. I'm like, yo, Marlon ain't nothing. I said, well, Marlon was one of the main choreographers in Jackson 5. But it gives me a chance to educate my audience, because when they look at my shows, they want to see, well, what's the conglomerate of your shit? So it's my responsibility that every level that I get to in this industry, no matter how high I get, I'm going to make sure that the masters get their due. I'm going to make sure that people know if you love me, these are the people you need to go and listen to. This is why I'm a diehard Eminem fan to this day. When Eminem won his Grammy for the second album, this man got up on stage and had a list. He said, last time I got my award, I wasn't prepared, but I'm making sure in this speech right here, I just want to send a shout out to all of the rap artists and MCs who influenced my style of rap. And he named pretty much all the guys who influenced me. That made me a bigger Eminem fan. Once he said Cool G Rap, and I was done. I'm like, that's it, because that's my favorite rap artist. He said Cool G Rap, Raz Cash, Chino, these all the guys I listen to. These all the guys I study. And that's why I love Eminem in the first place. So at that particular point, and even now, in 2022, nobody can tell me shit about Eminem, because Eminem literally, fuck your conversation, fuck your debates. He's in my top 10 for a reason. Not just because he's nice on the mic, but also because of the fact that he's always, from day fucking one, he gave it up. He gave the credit. He never came in this game like, I'm a white kid and I'm going to dominate. No, he was humble, man. He's crazy, but he was always humble of the fact that, look, I used to study Naughty by Nature. I'm like, whoa, he was a Naughty by Nature fan? Like, he gave Tretch, and mind you, Tretch don't get the props. When Eminem said that shit, I was so happy. I said, thank you. I've been telling people for years about Tretch, but nobody listens to me. But Eminem, Oscar award winner, about 100 million records sold, and he's still, with all the Grammys and shit that he's won, he is still passionate about hip hop.
To see him at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and come out just for LL Cool J, I'm like, that's what I'm looking for, bro. That's what you do. He did that shit for the hip hop honors too. When they was honoring LL Cool J, then he came out and did Rock the Bells. Like, that's what you do when you are really in love with the passion that you have.
Can I keep it? Can I keep it even more real with you? I'm gonna be as candid as my fans would expect me to be. And I'm saying this, people can get mad, but I don't give a fuck. Again, I have nothing to lose and nothing to gain.
I don't give a fuck. Let's go.
When it comes to our people, yes, us.
Yes.
We have this strange, weird-ass, funny-ass dilemma. I'm going to tell you what it is. We get upset and try to criticize the icons of this game, especially with a lot of these new niggas that come into the mix, and they say all this shit. They want to sample the greats, but they don't want to acknowledge them. They don't want to do. See, if that was me, I said, I want to put them on a song with me. Fuck just having a sample. Let's put them let's put them in the video. It might help their streams. It might even give them more publishing money. If this is my momentum in my generation, I want to make sure my heroes get it. Nope. What happens? And then all of a sudden, when a white artist, there was a whole big beef, and Kane spoke about this shit. Macklemore, y'all know who Macklemore is. Macklemore had a song called, I think it was Downtown. And he had Kumo D, the great, Melly Mel, and Grandmaster Caz. And Kane even wrote some of the lyrics in that shit. Everybody that was black was complaining. Who does this white boy think he is? He's trying to appropriate culture. Kane shut all that shit down, bro. Kane was like, y'all talking all this mess, but I don't see none of y'all cats buying Kumo D's last record. I don't see none of y'all buying, I don't see y'all coming to Melly Mel show to show that same kind of love, but you want to get mad because there's a hot white artist that actually cares about the culture than most of y'all do. See, I have a slogan. You probably might have heard about it. It's called Support or Shut Up. I'm sick of people talking about bring the real music back. Bring it. The real music never left. We're here. We've been doing it. New artists and classic. Jeffrey Osborne last album was off the chain. Support it. Layla Hathaway, my big sis, her last album was off the chain. Do you support it? Now, mind you, can I get one for free if I wanted to? Absolutely. But I support my friends. You know what I'm saying? I don't wait until I see them at a concert and be like, yo, can I get a CD? When it comes out, look, that's what that's technology is for that reason. Oh, it's out on iTunes? Bingo. $7, $8 is not going to hurt me. So miss me with that bullshit. So we have this thing. We hated on Tyler Perry for so long and not realizing that this dude created a dynasty off of generational wealth for filmmakers and bought his own lot and exit out Hollywood and created his own brand. Whether you like it or not, whether you're a fan or not, you can't even give that man respect enough to be like, yo, he created a market for something that people can relate to. You think it was all black people that made the movies go #1? No. So my thing is just that we sit here and get mad. We criticize him, and then yet he turned around. He's like, oh, he can't do shit without Medea. He dropped 4 movies that had nothing to do with Medea, and they were all #1. So my thing is that, what now? You talking all this shit, but now he done proved you wrong again. But as a people, we'll sit there and we'll make an excuse to downplay that shit like it's nothing. But then, God forbid, if he leave this earth, or God forbid something happens, then everybody want to come out with the obituaries and the fake ass. Look, I'm tired of it. Like, I speak about this shit so often because, I only met Tyler Perry once, and it wasn't really a me. It was just most like, hey, I see you. I'm a huge fan. And that was it. We just kept it moving. But the thing was that, when I met LaToya Jackson, like I said, I'm a Jackson's family fan because LaToya went for like everybody. Oh, that's the best. I said, listen, everybody know LaToya ain't the best singer, but you know what though? What I dug about LaToya's first 2 albums is that it had a lot of great material on there that was suited for her voice. So I had to when I met her, I hung in the dressing room with her. You'll look at my Instagram page, you see the picture I have with her. We hung in the dressing room for 2 hours, in the same dressing room, me, her, some other people. And I told Ms. Jackson, I said, if you feel the funk is my shit, and her eyes look like a Christmas tree. He said, wow, I said, I had the first 2, and then the album that got produced by my big brothers, Full Force, produced one of her later albums, which I thought was a good album. Now, of course, critics downed her at that point. If it wasn't coming from Michael or Jermaine, nobody was really trying to, and it's not their fault. It's really because of the way the industry was built around that time. But the point that I'm making is that if we don't show that kind of love and support and respect to the people who are doing it, we're cutting ourselves short. We're sitting there allowing people to dictate what's dope to us, as opposed to saying we need to be supporting that guy. Now, I practice what I preach, obviously. So,
Right. Oh man, that is very important because what you said, we can't move forward if we don't know what happened. If we don't learn from our elders, we don't learn from our people. That's why, for me, if I did do music, I would want to go and meet a KRS-One. I would want to sit down with a Rakim. I would want to go sit down with these legends because at the end of the day, MC Shan, I want to sit down with the Juice Crew. I want to talk to the goddamn Juice
listen.
Crew.
Let me show you how crazy my history is. The people just mentioned. I rode trains with MC Shan, Long Island Railroad. Because at one point he was living in Long Island, and he moved to Atlanta. I rode trains with him. You dig what I'm saying? How crazy is that total by accident. It wasn't like I'm looking for him. I'm literally getting on the train to go to the city. And of course, you can't miss his face. You know Chan, oh shit, what up, Chan? He was like, oh, what up, man? And we had a whole dope ass conversation all the way to fucking Manhattan. How crazy, an hour and a half Long Island ride. Me and Kanan had some of the best moments. I opened up for him. We sit in his dressing room and just catch up and just talk about shit, and just and kind of make fun of each other. We have this thing where we rank on each other a lot because he doesn't like the fact that I eat pork because he's not a pork eater. And I said, okay. And I call him. I said, okay, bullfighter suit. I talk about the clothes that he wore in Heavy D's Don't Curse video. So I'm only look. We joke with each other, but that's big brother, little brother stuff. Moments with my heroes, I can't get enough of. I mean, when me and Lionel Richie hung out in Hawaii, that was the best. Imagine being by the poolside at a private Four Seasons hotel, sitting there with Lionel talking about Commodore albums, getting deep into the recording process. Him asking me, he's country as hell. Hey, Lord, man, you got your publisher, man? He's like, yeah. I said, that's the ticket, son. You got that. He said, that's the whole. And he's giving me $1 million worth of game for free. Not the only time he's done it, but that one time in Hawaii, because we've done Hawaii together 3 times already. It never gets old for me. So just what you just said in that moment, and part of this, what we're doing here, it's reasons like that and why I continue. And every now and then, because I'm human, I have to remind myself, Lord, do you really have something worth weight in a state of platinum and gold just for your resume alone? And then I say, yeah. I said, well, shit, Lionel Richie's a Law fan. I'm doing something right. Sinbad is a Law fan. I'm doing something right. Morris Day and the Time. I got songs with Jelly Bean and Monty Moore on my last album. I had Tony M from the New Power Generation on my record. I brought him back. Tony hadn't bust a rhyme since the Symbol album. Think about that. I put Tony, the great Tony M, back in the mix on my song. You know how gratifying that is to have one of my rhyme heroes on a song with me who I looked up to? Can't beat that shit with a collar pride, man. It just, So when I get, that's why I was so fans all the time. He's like, oh, he thinks he's all that. I said, I don't give a fuck. You can say what you want to say. Guess what? I'm living my best life, and the fact that I have the approval. I mean, platinum records are great, gold records are great, Grammys are cool too. But to me, if I don't get the respect of my heroes who influenced me to do what I do, it means absolutely nothing. So anytime I gotten the props and the accolades from any of my heroes, I'm doing something right. When Chucky Booker hits you up and be like, that's a bad muff, I'm like, oh, it's Chucky Booker we talking about. If you know the history, that's the greatest few in the world. D.O.A. Allen, Kipper Jones. These are the guys. These are the guys behind the magic. Kipper Jones wrote 90% of Brandy's first album, including I Want to Be Down and Baby and Broken Hearted. He wrote this stuff. So to get the props from him or Monty Moore, who wrote Pleasure Principle for Janet Jackson. Lord, you're a great writer. Wow. Jelly Bean Johnson co-wrote and produced Black Cat for Janet Jackson, #1 record across the board. Narada Michael Walden, the man who produced Whitney, Aretha Franklin, and Dionne Warwick. Yo, Law, man, your production is great, man. Me? Yeah, see that? Listen, that's my reaction every single time, bro. It never gets old for me. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you said something though earlier, and I want to bring it back because I cannot have a conversation with you without talking about the late great Amy Winehouse, man. I cannot. I cannot. Um, Such an amazing talent, a voice. Her voice was particular, man. It was different than anything you would hear.
Yeah.
My sister loved her. I loved her. Like I've done lists for my musical list, and if you're gonna put Adele on the list, you better put Amy on the list because she was better. I'm like, okay.
Hey, I don't even.
I can
I
disagree.
could
I'm
be
not.
biased, but I ain't gonna even argue with that shit. But go ahead.
I'm like, I can't even disagree. I'm like, all
Uh,
right, I got it. I'm like, I'm with you on it. Okay, she's on the list. She's on the list. I
yeah,
can't even agree. I can't disagree. And and to be around a talent like that, that motivation is gotta be on another level of like, yo, I'm watching probably one of the most iconic artists of our time, and she ain't even there yet. She's at the precipice of what she's
yeah,
gonna become.
you got it. You got it
To
right.
to watch it and to see it is like, yo, I'm around something that I'm gonna have to tell my kids about one day.
That you know, I'm gonna give you the story. I already have it on YouTube, but I'll give it for your show as well. Um, I knew there was something special about Amy, and the crazy, I mean, for most people that know the story of how I got the job, was simply because one of the two original background singers. Shout out to my boys Alan and his brother Hashima. Hashima is a soap opera star, so he couldn't do the day. I didn't even know who Amy was at the time because I'm usually up. I was kind of mad at myself. I was usually up on everything that comes out. So when they called me, it was based upon the fact that I did a show with this guy named Neil Sugarman. Turns out Neil Sugarman is the creator of Sharon Jones, the late Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. Now here's where it gets interesting. Sharon grew up with my Uncle Tony in Fort Greene in Brooklyn. So they have a history. So
Yeah.
I was already a Sharon fan, but I didn't even know that she was close to my family. It's funny how things work, right? See how that works? So basically, I did the show with them, and Amy's management had called and said, yeah, you know, we heard a lot about you. Neil said that you tore the house down and you do splits and all this stuff, and you play guitar, you sing back. Well, we got this artist named Amy Winehouse. You ever heard of her? I'm like, no, I didn't. He said, well, they're looking for a strong background singer with some personality to replace the other guy that joined the brothers. So we think you might be interested. Now, at this time in my career, I already had some backup for Freddie Jackson, Shaka Khan, a host of a whole lot of other people. And I'm not going to lie, you can call me Sadiddy, call me uppity, but I was very picky about who I sang background around. Because you got to remember,
As you should.
thank you for,
As you should.
because keep in mind, at that time, when your name is attached to who you singing with, people going to either be like, yay, or people going to be like, okay. and
Like
the
he might bring that shit to us, and I don't need that around me.
And the last thing you want is okay, you don't want that. So
Mhm.
I said, you know what? Let me get back to y'all. Let me look at my schedule. I was lying my ass off. I basically went to YouTube and let's see. And I came across a song called Fuck Me Pops. The rest is history. I mean, first of all, the title is intriguing because, you know, I'm a man. So I was like, is it about what I think it is? But then turns out it's not. It's not what people thought it was. She's
Mhm.
talking about a girl who was selling herself short and not honoring her value. I said, and I heard the Lauryn Hill influence, I heard the jazz influence, but then there's over a better hip hop. I said, she's different. Her voice is different. And she had the rhyme. Speaking of which, let me interrupt this real second. I just got news confirmation. We lost yet another icon. Speaking of Amy, the great Ronnie Spector of the Ronettes.
I I saw that.
My grandfather used to tour with them. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Amy's hairdo was inspired by Ronnie Spector. Yeah. You never saw, go back and look at the Ronettes.
I
They
know.
whole,
Yeah.
hey man, like that. Look at her hairdo. But no, when me and Amy finally had a chance to sit down and talk, he said, oh, I love the Ronettes. Yes, absolutely. Ronnie Spector, she's my idol. Like see what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, see what I mean? So the crazy thing is that I saw all of that in that one video. So you know what I did, right? Ray, hey, manager, I'm down.
I'm
Let's
good.
do it. Because
I'm good to go.
from that one video, I knew she was going to be something. And how interesting at the time, there was another young lady that came out by the name of Lady Gaga. Now watch this. One of my closest friends, Bob Leone, was Lady Gaga's first manager. But she was just Stephanie. When she used to play at the Bitter End Club with just a piano, she got signed to Island Records and they did not know what to do with her.
Do it her.
So
Yeah.
the whole point about this is that Lady Gaga single-handedly revived the EDM dance pop sort of thing on a huge level. So
Yeah.
we needed someone like Amy to give the balance for the white females. And then you got Adele in the middle of all that had a whole nother shit that was just totally different from both of them. Adele is very big on
Vocals.
like very big. Amy's
On
your
vocals.
snarly kind of, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Lady Gaga, who's just like the female version of David Bowie. Just the whole, the art, the cinematography, the art part of it. Amy stood her ground in who she was. What you saw is what you got. And I'm forever in debt to that woman on so many different levels. She heard my demo, which later became my first album, The Plant Soul Syndrome, thanks to her boyfriend Blake. And she made me her opening act. She had the #1 album in the country. That young girl didn't owe me a fucking thing. I was just happy to be there. We did David Letterman, as you know. We on David Letterman, my now famous White Kango, and our choreography is known throughout the world. Over 300 million views, And I used to read the comments when I'd be there, like, oh man, them dancers got steps. They can sing too. So, and imagine having at the time my twins were 7 when I did so imagine that feeling of them being 7 years old. It's like, we gotta watch that on David Letterman. So it's, I miss her so much. I miss my little sister so much, man. Like we had in that short period of time that I worked with her, we had some great times, man. And it was just great to see her really, really flourish on so many different levels of a whole thing, and gone way too soon. And she still had a lot to give, but honestly, we probably wouldn't have gotten the album until 4 years later. Because I remember, I'm gonna leave it with this. There was one thing that she said that gave me chills to this day. She said, when I asked her, we were hanging out after we had just filmed, because David Letterman is filmed during the day. So we were hanging out. And I said, yo, Amy, I listened to that whole album front to back. Like after I said, you really like it? She said, you really like it? I said, yeah, I love it. I said, every fucking song. And I said, well, I'm waiting for your next album already. And she said, I'm not really that ambitious. And that's when I knew that there were other problems and things that we already kind of know about now, and the mental struggle she had with addiction and things like that. And just to be clear, I was offered a lot of money to, because the media wanted me to talk about things that I might have seen, and I told them all to go fuck themselves. I said, because it's funny. Nobody. First of all, I don't do sucker shit. I'm no compromise, no sellout. We don't play that. I don't give a fuck. The thing they were offering me money. They was offering me a spotlight feature on the platforms and all this other shit. Yeah, they were. It was crazy. Right around the time she died, honestly, when she passed away, I learned who my friends were. I kind of knew before that, but that really taught me. A lot of shit I won't get into, but I just put it this way. If you don't know, Mary J. Blige said the best. Better know who your friends are. You end up getting burned. That's the realest shit ever said. And what I love the most these days is all the fans around the world. They'll tag me. For Halloween they had the some kids reenact the performance where they had 2 guys look like me and Xylon, and the girl was dressed like me. So I mean, I'm absolutely. I don't live it down for nobody. Am I absolutely glad and feeling myself to be a part of pop culture forever because of Amy? You motherfucking right I am. I'm never going to live that down. God forbid, if I've never done nothing else in my career, I can sit back and be like, I did that. I mean, Amy's still getting love around the world, like she's still here.
Always.
So for me, now, if I was a lazy motherfucker just to rest on my laurels, and I did, that would be the ticket right there. So, I miss her so much, man. I get emotional. So I get very emotional and somewhat extra chatty because I just feel like I was able to spend a lot of personal moments with her to get to know her as a person, as an artist, when she wasn't dealing with her demons and things like that. So, and I just love the fact that so many of these young artists, like I remember one night we were doing a corporate show and the band leader called out Valerie, and I had to literally fight back tears. It was, I started to remember all the choreography that we did when we was on the road with her, and I'm just like, everybody looking at me like, yeah, it's emotional. So even to this day, like even when I came, I'm in LA right now. When I came to LA and I was at the Newark airport, I'm just buying some water. Valerie comes on. I'm like, Amy, what are you trying to tell me? I mean, what were the chances?
And it's crazy
You
that
know?
we talked about this earlier. I go back and watch the 2011 VMAs. Who's performing Valerie for Amy Winehouse?
Bruno
Bruno
Mars.
Mars.
Yeah, yeah. See, it's all full circle, man. It's not, you can't tell me otherwise. This is the reason why I never changed up. I didn't try to follow the current trend because I could have easily did what a lot of other motherfuckers expected me to do. But I'm like, I'm already winning with my shit. It may not
Mm.
be in accordance to what a level is. I said, well, that depends on what you call a level, because as TLC has proven and so many other artists, you can win a bunch of Grammys and sell millions of records and still be broke as fuck. So what is the point of getting 1,101 streams if you're not benefiting from your? Half of these people don't even own, unless the label buys it for them, half of these people don't even own homes. I own my house. You dig what I'm saying? I
Oh
own
yeah.
my house.
Oh
Nobody controls
yeah.
my bank account but me.
I, I always feel like when I hear artists say I signed a bad record deal, I'm like, you need to learn business first before you even jump into any of this shit. Go independent
Thank you.
and go
Thank
independent first and figure out that shit first. Because once you join something and your name is legally attached to it, they own your ass a little bit. And it sucks that that's the way this industry is designed and built, but that's kind of what the fuck they do. They pick you off young, they figure out how you, and they get you.
Why do you think the industry likes them young?
Because you don't you're not mature.
Because no, I'm about to sum it up for you. Because imagine being from Brooklyn, New York, 15 years old,
Mm-hmm.
sitting in record label meetings. I ain't gonna mention no names. And you know about publishing and royalties. Why now you understand why they didn't sign me. Everything that you repeat about my resume and who I was at 15, of course I was, you know, I was still making my way. But the thing was that as far as me playing of my instruments, producing my own records, you know, rapping, singing, and songwriting, and didn't need no extra help in the studio except for the engineer. That's scary because that means I get the bigger piece of the pie.
Piece of the pie. Oh yeah.
They don't
Oh
want that. They want their cronies to get in on the writing so they can get them the money because they're signed to them. They're under them. So they'll make you feel like, well, you know, your writing's not. I remember, I'm not going to say no names, but there was a certain member of a female group. I'll give you one hint. Houston, Texas. I'm just going to leave it at that. If you're thinking what you're thinking, yes, that is. There was a certain group, and not the one you think I'm talking about. There was another member of that group who had a solo project. And the person who was the A&R, we gave them a bunch, because we already know, I'm like, they're going to feel this shit. They said, yo, you know, you stand head and shoulders above most producers' law, but you don't have that fire that we're looking for. I mean, of course I did one of those, but then I'm like, you know what? I can't even get mad. Funny how things work. And you can figure, look, if you already got the hint, you already know who I'm talking about. I'll put it to you this way. Let's just say, out of that 3-member group of the females from H-Town, Texas, there's only one name that everybody cares about, as you know. The other girl, she put out a couple of solo out. Her later solo records got better. But the first 2 solo records, nobody was checking for her. They were checking for, 3 words, crazy in love. I'm just going to give you that. I'm going to leave it at that. I ain't got to say no more names. So you run with that. So in any event, what that did for me is it taught me, I could have gave up right there. I could have been like, okay, well, you know, I'm just not working. But I knew I had something to offer. So like Mariah Carey said, to make it happen, got to keep going. So I didn't let the industry determine what my value was. Because look, George Clinton hired me a year later to produce records for him. George Clinton don't need me to produce. He's the reason why I produce. He don't need me. but he believed in me enough. You dig what I'm saying? He believed in me enough. You dig what I'm saying? He believed in me enough to give me the kudos to say, you a bad motherfucker. And that's, look, when George Clinton, the man who reinvented music more than anybody else, tells you that you're a bad motherfucker, what's that song? Who gonna check me? Who gonna say shit about what? Nobody. So when I knew that the labels weren't checking for me, I said, I'm gonna make myself a valuable commodity. I joined the corporate gig agency, started doing weddings and bar mitzvahs. And what was so cool, I brought a whole nother blueprint to that side, because until I came along in that industry in New York, all the guys had was the same fucking moves on every record. I brought that New Edition, that Troop, that Foursome D's, that New Kids on the Block, that whole aesthetic. And I changed the corporate gig industry, which allowed me to do what? To make legitimate music money. Then I got into licensing thanks to Bunham Murray and MTV. I still get my publishing checks to this day for certain songs. And then to add into all of that, now I'm able to invest in my Planet Soul brand, just put out music whenever I feel like it. So I got fans that support. So when you look at your two-coin account and you got like about a good $200, $300, you're doing something. And then when I finally put out the merch last year during the pandemic, it flew off the fucking shelves. My fans have been waiting for 7 years for me to put out merch. So, I mean, I'm not bragging. I'm just speaking like Jay-Z said. I'm not bragging. I'm simply saying the truth. So the thing is just that, you know, and you can't, you know, when people try to tell me about what they think or why the industry doesn't work this way, I said, no, the industry works if you work it the way you're supposed to work it. Number one is learning the business. And number two is to never, ever let up on your hustle. That's why I'm out here now, because I have a whole lot of shit going on in New York when I get back. But I said, let me come to LA for a couple of weeks just to get my mind right and do some routine stuff with some people who I love out here. You know what I'm saying? So this is what it is. I tell that to all artists. They're trying to figure out like, damn, well, how are you able to do that? Because I'm free. Nobody owns me but me. I own my name. I own my brand. You know, did you hear about Jessica Simpson? All them years remember she was making millions off of her brand. Come to find out, she's fighting for her own brand. See, and it goes to show you this. It ain't just Black people that suffer. A lot of white artists that don't know the business suffer too.
Hey, son, these 360.
The industry does not give a fuck about your race or color. It's all about one color, green. If you're not making money for them, you're useless. They don't want you. So when I became a valuable commodity, I said to myself, I'm going to make every last one of these motherfuckers respect me. Why? Because I'm showing them that I don't need them. I'm good. So if they want to ever sign me to a major label, we would have to have a meeting. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? I'm doing good on my own. And they'd be like, you could do better. I said, I Can See Your Voice and Dance with the Stars. I made over $5,000 in just one day doing a session from my house. For those that don't know, I did some voiceover work. There's nothing else to say after that. It's like, I'm making that kind of money that most artists got to tour just to make. And as we know, if you know anything about publishing royalties, you only get them like every quarter of the month. So it's almost like 4 months. So picture me waiting.
Fuck that.
And you wonder why, and y'all wonder why I get on Instagram and Facebook and talk my shit? Because the proof is in the pudding. It's here. Look it up. It's researchable.
Hey.
I'm not making this shit up. I'm not some dude. Unlike some artists, I don't buy my followers. Yeah, I said it.
Ooh.
My followers are real. When I walk into a room, it's scary for some people. Because you know why? It's like, damn, Law said that shit. I could say what the fuck I want. What they going to do? You might be blacklisted. They can blacklist these nuts. They can't how can they black? You don't own me. How do you don't own me? You can't blackball me. You can try. It's not going to
Try.
stop my flow. First of all, no artist should never give nobody that kind of. I don't give no man, with the exception of Jesus Christ himself. I don't give no man no power over me. You ain't got that kind of power. You dig what I'm saying? When there's a will, there is a way. Me and my brother, we grew up with Jay-Z. I'm still close to his family members. We're still. Jay-Z got turned down 14 times. The Beatles got turned down about 18 times. 2022, the Beatles are still regarded as the greatest rock group of all time. And Jay-Z's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Watch the fucking projects where I grew up. Don't tell me it don't work. Jay-Z was met with all kind of opposition. You already said in the song, when you first come in the game and try to play, you get a couple of hits. Look how they wave to
you. Yep.
What he said? The Martha Stewart, that's far from Jewish, far from a Harvard student, just had the balls to do it. You're not even close. Leave it alone. I'm Michael Jordan. I play for the team I own. If anybody that's not a Jay-Z fan, you should become one. I tell people, like, if you're not listening, you're not listening.
Man.
People don't understand. He was already talking this shit before he became the billionaire.
When he is like talking about, one of my favorite Jay-Z songs is Can I Live? And he's just on there just talking this shit before he even became J motherfucking Z. And he just talking this shit. And I'm like,
lease buy the whole car, just like you should. No, but
like,
you gotta remember, bro. You gotta remember.
I'd rather live enormous than live dormant. I'm like, man, get the fuck out of here, man. You ain't touching this. I better shoot the Maui on it. I'm like, God damn,
what he said on the million, on the second album, he said, "When I hate when the niggas sit back and admire yours, young blood, you better get that fine because niggas don't want to be confined to riding an iron horse and don't listen to these rappers. They die in the floors." I said, "Yo, but you gotta remember, I was there, bro. You gotta remember, I was at the Ark when he did Ain't No Nigga for the first time. I was there because, like I said, my brothers and them grew up with him, so I watched it. So when they see me talk about the last 3 times I ran into Jay, which was the very last time I saw him was when we did the MTV Movie Awards. I was with Amy, him and Tata. Me and Tata, we go way back. I know Tata's brothers, that's family. We looked at each other, like, look at us, man. Look at us. From the streets. I said, y'all just don't understand how proud y'all make me, man. Y'all make me proud. Every move that y'all guys make, I just sit there and I smile, man. Because even the Bible says, be happy for somebody's success. I was never a hater. Unless you was just a cornball ass, did this other shit, I don't have a reason to. But these are the people who aspire. So, without being too long-winded, I just think that more so, I'd say these examples to say that I'm living proof that it's possible. I've been in this industry for a long time and did not compromise my values. And yet in 2022, there are so many doors that are opening for me now. We got so many projects getting ready to come out this year and so many other things that even God ain't even telling, look, God ain't even letting me in on yet. That's how powerful he is. Because you know the saying, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plan.
Your plans.
God has a way of redirecting shit that you don't even know. And my motto has always been this. See where I'm at? I'm in my hotel room. I got to get ready to go to another meeting to do some shit work. Chance favors a prepared mind with a relentless grind. If you're not ready, if you don't stay ready so you don't have to get ready, you'll miss it. So my job in life is to stay healthy.
There it is.
That's the reason why Law doesn't look his age. Look, see, I can take my hat off. Ain't no filters here. I got a bald ass head. I ain't got no receding hairline and no crazy looking shit. This is really what I look like in public. Yeah. So, and I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because a guy like me is not supposed to look like this. I'm supposed to be with a beer belly and look all crazy, like life done did me wrong because I didn't do what the labels wanted me to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not expecting me to look like I'm still in my 20s and still performing at the level of anybody. That's the reason why we got shows booked all the way to 2023. We do. Real shit. Again, not bragging, just telling you. There's a reason for that. You dig what I'm saying? So if nothing else, let it be inspiring to you or anybody else to show you that when you stay true to your vision and don't do no sucker shit, you can win in this business. Period.
100. Before you go, man, I do this at the end of my interviews all the time with either podcasters or just people I love to interview, man. It's called From Me to You. I pretty much just ask somebody that I interview for the listeners one last thing to leave people with. You know what I'm saying? So, what is one thing about this industry that you have truly loved? And what is one thing that you can tell somebody that's young trying to be inspired to be like you, that owns all this shit, that don't have to really worry about the middleman? Motherfucker, I am the middleman. The fuck you talking about?
That part.
Yeah, I am the middleman, motherfucker. What you mean?
They ain't
So,
gonna do no hurdles to get to me.
so what is the one thing you love about this industry? Because you've lived an incredible life to be in this industry. That is incredible. What is one thing you loved about this industry, and what is one thing you could teach a young person that's listening that wants to be just like you?
Well, what I love about this industry is that because I was so comfortable in who I was and I've always been a leader, being in this industry allowed me to create my own thing. Everybody can't say that because when we live in an industry in the music biz where there's so many trends over here. And, the thing is, the merit of everything else, I'm kind of made fun. It wasn't really shade because I got TikTok too, but I always make a joke. I said, listen, a lot of what you see me do, it's like, damn, look, Law was on Dancing with the Stars. Like he was singing with the guys behind the curtain and shit, made money. I said, well, here's the thing. All of my accolades I got, I didn't have to do a Instagram video with me trying to out sing somebody on their own song. No shade, just being honest. Because you see everybody trying to do that now. Like I just talked about this one, the girl, Muni Long, she got the song called Hours and Hours. And I see a whole lot of people. I'm like, let that girl have her song, man. Everybody trying to put up video. No, look, you're doing it for views. You're doing it for, but why am I going to, and mind you, I love the song, but why am I going to make somebody richer and I can't get myself to this level first with my own shit? If I can't get there with my own content and create, I mean, some things are for fun. If you're doing it for fun, then more power to you. But some things ain't always for fun. And my thing is I peep game with a lot of this shit. So for me, what I love about this industry is that nobody owns me. I do what the fuck I want. I say what the fuck I want. I put out music whenever the fuck I want. There's freedom in that. Anybody that's gonna do music with me is gonna always have that ability to have that. And if they don't understand what that type of power really means, they already lost. And that's the thing that they don't teach you in that. Now, on the other side of your question, in reference to what I could teach somebody, the first thing I would say is learn the business. Learn the business. Because if you don't learn the business, how are you going to control your art? How are you going to know what to negotiate? How are you going to know when to go into a room and show them that you can use big words too? You got to remember, I'm very articulate on every level. Supreme intelligence on every. I'm the son of a Black Panther mother. Ain't nothing you can tell me. But because I'm from the street, I can easily go down to a level of a Dame Dash and curse a motherfucker out while I'm giving you game. It's that simple. When you're that diverse, you're scary. So I tell artists all the time, learn the business, control every aspect of your career until you get around some people that truly believe in what you're doing. So everybody's like, you gotta get a team, you gotta get a team, you gotta get a team. No. I don't look outside with the exception of Katrina and Rachel, shout out to them for making this happen. With the exception of them and a couple other people who, we've had great relationships and doing things like this, I do all the work. You dig what I'm saying? For the most part, I do all the work. So if I can do all this shit, so can you. So the thing about this is that before you can get a team, you have to control your art. Because if you don't have the content and you're not supreme and you don't have a resume or something that's substantial, who's going to get behind you? So I tell young artists, even older artists, I tell young artists all the time, first thing I ask them, I see all their postings and stuff like that. I'll be like, you on your publishing? And I'm very impressed that some young guys do know about it. I'm like, okay, that's take it. I'm like, yeah, you got it. You on your publishing now? Just putting it out. You know, I'm trying to get some. You know, somebody could snatch your song right then and there, and have a #1 hit record with it, and you wouldn't know what to do. Like I said before, TLC and many other groups are living proof that you can sell millions of records, win Grammys, and be broke. This is why law doesn't envy anybody. When I learned the truth about the industry, thanks to my late legendary grandfather, Sam Bluesman Taylor, because he went through it and he didn't even see his royalties until DMX sampled him from Get At Me, Dog. That's how we got our royalties back. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Yeah. DMX's first hit samples my grandfather's guitar riff. Boom, 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 boom. And his name is in the credits. My grandfather's name is right in the credits. So, and because he had 2 grandsons, because he had 2 grandsons that knew about the business like he did and had access to great lawyers to help him out, before my grandfather left this earth, he was able to reap the benefits of what he created because he had sold his publishing 30 years ago. Bad mistake. See what I'm saying? So the mission is deeper than me. So again, what I would teach every young and old artist, own your craft. What good is having a dope ass craft if you don't own it?
100.
So that's the #1 advice. And of course, on your craft. Own your craft and on your craft. Because if you got all this ownership, but you ain't studying the greats, you know, Michael Jackson said it best, study the greats and become greater. And even if you're not greater than the people that you study, it doesn't matter. You become great within your own realm. I knew I wasn't going to be left in the cold. And people was like, you do so much stuff. You sing, you rap, you do all genres of music. Because as a Black man, we already faced with this. They want to put us in a fucking box.
Every day.
And I have a saying. Try to put me in a box and I'll break that shit. Don't put me in no fucking box. I love Led Zeppelin the same way I love Tina Marie. You know what I mean? I love Garth Brooks the same way I love Jackie Wilson. You know what I'm saying? I love Bruno Mars, but I also love MF Doom. See what I mean? Don't put me in no fucking box. Just the other night, I bragged about it on Facebook. I posted, look, I got an NWA shirt. I'm cruising through LA yesterday, and I told the driver to blast Dreams by Fleetwood Mac.
I've been playing that for a while.
But that's the kind of, anybody that knows me, from my fans around the world, they know my other motto. Music diversity is sexy. And this is what I prided myself on, about making sure that us as Black artists, we don't get stuck in that box. And I never wanted that because it doesn't give you the freedom. I don't want to just be an R&B artist. Yeah, of course, I do crazy R&B. I can do that shit all day. But I'm not an R&B artist. I do whatever the fuck I feel. And if you're an artist, you should have the freedom to do whatever it is you want. So that's my last piece of advice to anybody in the industry coming up, is to own your craft, but then hone your craft. That's it.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. One more time, thank you for even sitting down and talking to me. I appreciate that, because you taught me a lot of things, man. That's what I love about doing these interviews, because I learned things about, and it's not even about the stories. It's about like the life advice that you've gone through. Everybody's giving you something to take with you for your life. It made you better as a person.
Oh, absolutely.
It wasn't just about the music. Yeah, it wasn't just about the music. It was about, no, this is how I became better as a person too.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And I thank you for that. I thank you for sitting down with me and doing this with me, man. Tell everybody one more time where they can find your music, you on social media, podcasts, Instagrams, everything, man. Tell them where they can do it.
Absolutely. And once again, Brandon, thank you so much for having me. This was definitely one of my favorite interviews. I appreciate it. I love your energy, love your spirit.
Thank you.
More success to you.
Thank you.
They can find me on Instagram at Planet 12 Law, Twitter at Planet 12 Law, of course, Facebook.com/Law Planet 12. My YouTube channel is Law Planet 12 as well. And of course, all of my music, my 3 albums, the Planet 12 Syndrome, the Planet 12 Live Sessions, and Megadome Maniac are all available on Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, and all digital outlets.
Oh, man. Thank you for doing this again, man. I really appreciate this. I know you got to go work. I know you gotta go work. I know you got some stuff to go do.
Hey,
So I'm not gonna hold
I got Leon Silver's waiting on me, man, and that's the king.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit. All right, man. I'm gonna let you go.
I say no. Look, let's see how that man gave you that reaction.
I'm gonna let you go, bro.
Now you know how I feel. See what I'm saying? So that makes my point. What I said 20 minutes ago even more valid. Leon don't need nobody to play
Not
on
a
nothing
soul.
for him, but I play the way I play.
That's all that matters, man.
So
Hey,
this is why I never get depressed. This is why I don't envy anybody. When you're respected by the pioneers and the icons in this business, the doors will open for you and God will show you where to go. And that's all my career has ever been.
Amen.
God, period. Without him,
Amen.
so.
Amen. Thank you,
Bro,
man, again for doing this with me, man.
you're welcome.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your night, man. Be
Thank
safe
you.
out there, and thank you.
Appreciate you, bro. Speak to you soon, man. Thank you.
Peace, man.
All right, man.